Hello everyone, I'm Tim Pritchard, Sustainability Coordinator with Five Rivers MetroParks, where our mission is to protect the region's natural heritage and provide outdoor experiences that inspire a lasting connection to nature. We're here today at the beautiful 2nd Street Market to talk about recycling and better waste management. I'm here with my friend from Montgomery County Solid Waste District, John Woodman. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to share some information about recycling with the public.
Absolutely.
This is something that's important to MetroParks as a conservation agency because waste management is definitely a big part of taking care of our environment. And the more work we can do to promote better waste management throughout the community, the better for the regional and even global environment.
Sure. And our mission as the Montgomery County Solid Waste District is to help residents better manage their waste, to reduce, reuse, recycle, keep things out of the landfill, and help reduce the amount of waste they're creating.
Excellent. So today we're going to talk about the basics, right? We want to getting recycling right, some of the basic services offered to residents around Montgomery County, curbside and beyond. Find out what Montgomery County Solid Waste District is doing right now to promote recycling and what some of the opportunities for getting better at recycling are.
Absolutely. And we always start with the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. That's what everybody learned as a child, and we teach that all the way through. And it's important to note that you always hear the words in that order for a specific reason. We start with reduce. We want people to reduce the amount of stuff they're buying and creating. We want to reuse things as much as possible. And then after all that's done, then we move into recycling. So you always hear them in that order, and that's on purpose.
Makes a lot of sense, the 3 R's. So talk to us a little bit about what Montgomery County is doing right now.
Sure. We're going to talk specifics about programs and things like that, but we really promote what we call recycle more, recycle right. We want people to recycle after they've gone through the other steps, and we'll learn more about that in depth as we go along. And then when you get down to recycling, we want them to recycle as much as possible, but we also want them to recycle correctly. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today, and that's the message that we're trying to put out there to all of our residents, businesses, and schools.
Great. So, John, what is the first thing that we want to recommend the public get involved with in terms of recycling? For the person who's never done recycling before, where do we start?
Well, we're very lucky in this. We're very fortunate in this area that we have widespread access to what we call curbside recycling. Almost everybody in the county, regardless of what city or township you may live in, has a recycling card at home or has the ability to get a recycling card at home. So we want you to use that card. It's there. You might as well use it. When we recycle, that's less trash or waste when we recycle correctly, that's less waste that we're creating. So we want more in your recycle bin than we do in your trash cart, but we also want the right things in each one of them. So that's the most basic thing people can do at their house.
So we are very fortunate around here to have access to such easy recycling, at least on the basic level.
Absolutely.
Talk to us a little bit about what's involved in curbside commingled recycling as
Sure.
it is.
When you put the right things in your curbside bin, they're going to be recycled. They're going to be made into new products, okay? They're not going to go to a landfill or some other form of disposal. So we want you to put as much in there, and we want you to get the right things in there. So I think we're going to talk about what we want you to put into your recycling cart. And we've got some examples here of clean recyclables. I will say most of these came from my house. Your basic items are your glass bottles and jars, any color glass, things like that. Any kind of metal or aluminum can. So we've got soup cans, tuna fish cans, pop cans, things like that. Cartons. Cartons are one thing that people don't realize they can recycle, but we put them in there. So whether it's a juice carton or a milk carton or something like that. Any kind of paper or cardboard. Cardboard boxes is that corrugated kind of thick material. Any kind of paper, including paperboard containers like this egg container or my toothpaste box there, mail, junk mail, ads. Here's a little cardboard paper tube holder. All that stuff can go in there. And then the other thing we want to make sure you get in there is your plastic bottles and jars. And plastic obviously is one where there's a lot of confusion about things with the different numbers and the different types of materials, but we want to get into your plastic bottles and jars. And the correct things to get in there are anything that has a bigger body and a smaller neck. Don't worry about the numbers. The numbers Numbers don't factor into how we collect things here.
I was gonna say that's the number one question.
Yeah. Well, the message has changed over time, but right now we say don't worry about the numbers, worry about the type of container it is. So any kind of plastic bottle or jug. So here's a juice bottle, here's some pop bottles, water bottles, even things like this. It's a bottle. It's a bottle. So even though it's a darker plastic, we still want those in the recycling container. You can leave the caps on them. You can leave the caps on all these things. It helps with the recycling sorting process. But those are the five types of items we want in that bin.
So just to break that down a little bit, you mentioned paper and cardboard, being kind of the same category, and almost every type of paper around here is recyclable.
Correct.
Are there any exceptions when people are going
The only exceptions are things like paper towels or toilet paper or tissues, things like that. We do get questions about pizza boxes. The pizza boxes, as long as they're relatively clean, are okay to put in there. Not a lot of cheese or grease on them and things like that. If they do get too contaminated, there's other options for you, like composting or things like that. But
and some of us make the effort to actually cut the grease spots out of the pizza box and throw it in there.
Well, you know, most pizza boxes now have a cardboard insert in them that the pizza actually sits in. That usually gets contaminated, but the rest of the box is generally clean, so you can recycle those. The other questions we get asked a lot is shredded paper. Shredded paper is okay to put in your recycling cart in a clear plastic bag. It's the only type of bag we want in there.
Why is clear or transparent
so they can see it? If it's in a darker bag, they can't tell that it's shredded paper in there. But when you got to think tons of recyclables are going up these lines, so if they can see a clear bag, they can pull it out and make sure it gets recycled.
So almost any kind of paper. A few things to be careful with there. You mentioned plastics, and that's kind of the number one area where people have questions. It's always about looking at numbers, but around here, as you mentioned, only things. Let's reiterate this: only things that are larger base with a neck.
Yep, bottles or jugs. You'll see that language. So if they have a wider body and a smaller neck, that's okay.
So I know we get a lot of questions from people about to-go containers.
Well, equally as important, the right things put in there is the things you want to keep out.
Yeah, so what are some of the plastics that we definitely want to keep out?
So anything that's not a bottle or jug. So see, I've got some yogurt containers and butter tubs, little plastic berry, we call them clamshell type things, plastic cups like that. They do not have a wider body and a smaller neck. They're not a bottle or jug, so keep those plastics out of your recycling cart.
Yeah.
They will not get recycled that way. Potato chip container, things like that.
I know a lot of people are surprised to hear that.
And,
myself included, for a long time was throwing those things in chemical recycling. When I found out from our recycling rep that it was just bottles and jugs, I was taken aback.
Yeah, that's the only thing that they process in this area. So it's
but
important.
I know it's very important to not encourage what we call wish cycling sometimes, right?
That's exactly the term for it. Yeah.
You think it should be recycled.
Yeah, we encourage people not to just put things in there and hope that it'll be recycled. Wish cycling is is actually the term for it, because all that does is it gums up the system, it contaminates the material that's there, it slows the process down, and increased costs of process. I mean, all that kind of stuff filters back down. So that's a bad thing to do. There are other options for a lot of these materials, even beyond the reduce, reuse, recycle, which we'll get into in a future discussion.
Sounds good.
But plastic medication bottles like that, they do not have the smaller neck. Those are not recyclable. The number one thing that we ask people to keep out of their recycling bin is these plastic bags. These plastic bags are a hazard in more ways than one to the recycling stream. They get wound around equipment and they shut things down and create safety issues in the workplaces, in the recycling facilities. Let your recyclables free. Dump them out. Don't bag them up. Don't put these bags in there. There are other options to properly dispose or recycle of these bags, but don't put them in your recycle cart. They blow around. They litter. They get all over the place. But
out into our natural areas. Right.
They're bad for the environment and plants and animals in the environment and things like that. But the main reason is they do gum up. They do get wound around the equipment and caught up in there and create safety and cost issues for the recyclers. So don't put your recyclables in bags. Don't put anything else in there either that can get caught up in the machinery, like computer cords or extension cords, Christmas tree lights, things like that. There aren't we're going to talk about other programs for that,
Yeah, we
but don't
will
put them in your
mention
recycling cart because they actually create a hazard. Another thing that creates hazards are batteries.
Oh, yes.
We have separate programs for batteries and things like that. They're actually a safety hazard in your bin in the recycling truck, so don't put them in there. No styrofoam, like these styrofoam cups or packing material. Keep that stuff out of your recycle bin. And other things like metal hangers. Metal is obviously a recyclable commodity, but don't put these kind of hangers in your car. So again, they get wrapped up in the equipment, they create safety and issues in the plant. So put the right things in there. We want you to recycle as much as possible, to recycle even more than you do now if possible. But make sure you get the right things in there. Recycle more, recycle right.
Going back to a couple of those things, because we talked
Sure.
a little bit specifically about cardboard and paper and about different plastics. You mentioned metal hangers are not something that we want to put in recycling, but a lot of metals are. So
Sure.
could you speak to which metals specifically do we want to encourage people to put in recycling?
Well, we want what we call your aluminum bottles and cans like that, or aluminum pop cans and things, or your bimetal, your steel food cans, or juice cans or things like that. So just the type of food and beverage type containers like that. Any other metal, there are plenty of scrap metal places around that will give you a few cents for your stuff. So things like metal hangers and stuff, you want to take it to the right place. Don't put them in your cart at your house. But if you want to recycle them, there are options out there to do that.
And same thing with glass. Most glass containers, I believe, are recyclable, but there are certain types of glass I believe we're not supposed to put in.
Exactly. Think glass. Just like the metal. Think bottles and jars that held food or drink, any color or stuff like that. The types of glass you don't want to put in there are things like window glass or ceramics or things like that kind of safety glass and stuff that it's just not processed the same. So those don't go in there, coffee mugs or whatever. But just glass bottles and jars that held food or drink primarily.
Excellent. So those are some great guidelines for making sure we get commingled recycling at the curbside correct. What are some ways that people can recycle more, and maybe some opportunities through Montgomery County Solid Waste District that can help people take the next steps beyond
Absolutely.
curbside?
We have a lot of programs, most of them free of charge, that I kind of say it goes beyond the bin, it goes beyond your cart at home. So things like batteries. We have a free drop-off at our recycling transfer station in Moraine. It's very easy to use, free drop-off for any kind of battery like that. And they will get properly recycled. And there's some other locations around too, which
I was going to mention, right here at 2nd Street Market, we're kind of a conduit for that program, and we do offer bins for the public to stop down anytime and leave their batteries. For the battery recycling program, are there any type of batteries that the public should not dispose of there?
I'm going to say no, because we do take everything from big automotive batteries. You don't want to throw them in that pail, but we do have a drop-off at our facility for large automotive batteries, everything down to the small single-use alkaline type batteries, or even the button batteries like watches or lithium rechargeables. We'll take all that. It'll get sorted out and properly recycled and disposed of. That goes for any kind of household hazardous waste too. It's a very popular program we run out there 2 days a week. And household hazardous waste is basically any of those chemicals or materials that you have in your garage, your basement, or under the sink, the cleaners, the solvents, fluorescent light bulbs, batteries, paints, stains, anything like that. We take those free of charge from county residents twice a week. We have larger programs too for like scrap tires. We'll recycle those. Appliances, we do have programs for that. Yard waste is another one. So there's a lot of opportunities to recycle and reduce your waste and what's going to the landfill and to recycle these materials properly. And I know a lot of communities have programs too. We talk about the 2nd Street Market. You have a lot of great collection programs here at the market, but communities do too. And sometimes it's more convenient for you to take your yard debris to, like Kettering has a large one, for example, take it there, than to come to us. But you can do either or. We just want our mission is to help you keep it out of the landfill.
Anything else that people can use the facility at Montgomery County Solid Waste District for in terms of getting rid of household materials?
Yeah, I did mention too, I forgot to mention electronics. Electronics is a huge recycling program out there for us. We hundreds of tons of electronics each year. we collect from residents. So you can come out, you can bring your old television, computers, DVD player, cell phones, small kitchen appliances like coffee maker or toaster, any of those types of things. We have a free recycling program out there for it. It's a large, we collect a large volume of materials over the course of a year. So, but like that, we also have waste disposal services out there. Those are fee-based services, the waste disposal, but it's pretty cheap and affordable. But you can get rid of things out there too if you're clean. We've been very busy over the last few months with people at home more and cleaning out their garages and things like that. So if you can't find any of these other options that reduce, reuse, or recycle, ultimately at the end of the day you're left with stuff you need to get rid of, dispose of. You can also bring that out there to us. So all these services are on our website. Most of the recycling services are free of charge for county residents, as well as all the other programs that we have there, education and otherwise.
Really valuable assets to the community. One more question, how about cleaning up outside? When we've got a trailer full of stuff we just tore out of the yard, anything that we can do with that?
Like yard debris stuff?
Yeah.
Like trees or bushes or grass or leaves?
Shrubbery.
Yeah, we have a large yard waste collection facility out there that's open year round. It's open every day that we're open. And I'll tell you, just as a note, I see the sheets every day, but even on the coldest, windiest, snowiest, iciest day of the year, we'll get at least one person coming in there with some yard waste. So it's a very popular service. It's very seasonal, but if you're cleaning, you cut down a tree, you're pulling out bushes, whatever, you can bring that to us free of charge. We'll take it, and that material gets shredded up and turned into mulch and things like that. So we'll recycle it.
Keep that valuable stuff out of the landfill, right?
Absolutely.
So where is the site located for people that may have never been there before?
Sure. We think we're pretty convenient and easily located right off 75. The address is 1001 N Crete Lane. It's in Moraine, just south of the city of Dayton, right off the highway there on Spring Grove Pike. You can go to our website. There's all kinds of information there. It's www.mcswd.org, mcswd.org. Information on all of our services, waste disposal as well as waste reduction and diversion, outreach and education. There's a whole litter prevention and beautification side of it too. So we have our hands on a lot of different outreach activities and services, and we want people to use them. I think they're great services.
And they're easy to use, right?
I believe so, but I'm biased.
One thing we really want to encourage people to understand is that recycling is easy, especially at the level we're talking about.
Sure.
We're going to have a video later on with one of our master recycling volunteers to have ways to go above and beyond just the basic services offered,
Sure.
curbside commingled collection.
The first step is recycle more, recycle right,
Yeah.
and then we're going to give you some more advanced tips too.
So it's great to live in Montgomery County, a place where recycling is easy and the majority of recyclable goods are collected free of charge for residents. We make it easy here at 2nd Street Market as well. When you're visiting, we have commingled recycling throughout the market. Like we mentioned earlier, we have battery collection, where residents can drop off batteries to go to the same program John had mentioned. We encourage people to avoid the plastic bags by patroning our Leave a Bag, Take a Bag stations, where we have reusable bags for shoppers to use. Later in the year, we've got the holiday lights queued up right there. We'll be working with Cohen Recycling to make sure that we collect holiday lights from people that would otherwise throw them away. So we offer recycling for the lights, the cores, anything.
And you'll have multiple locations to collect those, right?
Yes, we will have multiple locations throughout the district to be announced at this point, but Second
Sure.
Street Market kind of
It's a great program, and we love to co-promote it with you.
Yeah,
and,
we appreciate that.
It's one of those items that go above and beyond a little bit. Recycle those.
We make all that very easy. So once again, thank you for joining us today, John, telling people about how to do recycling correctly and how to recycle more, recycle right, and make it easy.
Thanks, Tim. I really appreciate the opportunity.